Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Darkest Dungeon. I've taken the past couple days to read through each of your comments, both positive and negative, in order to make sure that the next video would go and address them. As you can tell, my voice is a little bit louder than it was in the first video. I've gotten numerous comments about how my voice was tuned too low into the mix.
Our estate was the envy of this land.
And I am hoping that this time my voice will be much more louder and clear. First, I'm going to start by grabbing the one shield breaker and the jester that was seen in the at the end of the previous video. I'm just going to look through to see what each of them have. Always keep in mind, always check which skills they will start off with, as well as which perks. Yeah, I say this one might be the safer part.
Shifting, swaying. She mesmerizes her prey before the final strike.
We have our Vestal currently gained de-stress, so we will have to undergo without a primary healer. Oh, okay. We'll see what's up at the farm said after. But first, we will do another trip to the roads. We'll put the highwayman in the third position, because I do believe, yeah, he could still do a lot in that position. And we will put the shield breaker up in front. The shield breaker has blight, so I think she'll be very vital. And with our supplies in check, I will see you all at the start of the dungeon. Welcome back to the ruins.
A handsome reward.
Let's get this
for a
started.
task well performed.
Alright. So like I said, we know the drill. We know what to do. It's going to be a tiny bit difficult now without primary healer, but I don't think we'll have too much of a problem.
As the fiend falls,
A faint hope blossoms.
Nice dodge. Could have been with the stun there now that I think about it, but I don't think it'll matter too much in the end. Yeah, I certainly should have healed her with the cured the bleed, I meant to say, with the plague doctor. That's my bad.
Monstrous size has no intrinsic merit, unless inordinate exsanguination be considered a virtue.
Man, here I am already making tons of rookie mistakes.
Finding the stuff is only the first test. Now it must be carried home.
That must be very painful to watch. So we're gonna go back up here, so that way we don't have to go all the way back to clear that, in just in case I had a room battle in it. This little thing here will summon the Shambler if you put a torch into it.
Spirits are lifted.
I'm not feeling too confident enough in order to do that, but perhaps one day, sometime in the near future, we shall.
Back to the pit.
The Shieldbreaker has a lot of high damaging attacks, and and if you build her right, she will be able to hit from most positions. Very good character to have for many different reasons.
Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all.
Right now, I'm gonna pass this off towards Shieldbreaker.
Wealth beyond measure, awarded to the brave and the foolhardy alike.
Yeah, I'd say that was pretty wealthy. Gonna have to agree. Also, is it time for me to talk about the narrator? I think it's time for me to talk about the narrator. So, the narrator is voiced by Wayne June, who does not have so much of a background in voice acting as he does in audiobooks. He
A fortune
reads,
waiting to
in
be
particular,
spent.
he likes to read a lot of Lovecraft, so it does fit in with the game's overall theme. Excellent voiceover. If you want to hear more of his work, I will be linking his YouTube channel in the description. And one thing I did forget last time was to also have a download link to the game
As the enemy
if you wish to play it yourself, which you can also find in the description.
Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive.
The game, I believe, if I remember off the top of my head, is about $15. Might be 20. Very worth it if you're liking the gameplays you're seeing right now. You see me usually targeting the backline. The backline usually has some of the more usually has enemies that deal more stress. And in this game, stress is a lot more harder to recover than health, for the most part. So it is a good idea to attack the back lines first. Although it does seem like the RNG is on our side for the most part.
Press this advantage. Give them no quarter.
The cultist especially is a very difficult enemy to deal with, as she can move your party at will.
Decimated.
Ooh. We're gonna do that
The
to,
promise of safety.
in order to have our light further up.
Remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer.
We're gonna give the move resist to Reynold, because he is the one character we would not want to have move under most circumstances. But if you want to read the journal page, you can pause the video and read real quick. It's out of order. I did not check to see which character had the best trap disarm rate. Luckily, that did not go south earlier. Ooh, map. When able to, it is always good to be able to scout ahead, so that way you are prepared to see what is coming up, such as his obstacle in this battle. Thankfully, we have been in pretty good shape for the most part.
Impressive.
Damn. That was pretty impressive. There goes that problem, huh? The Plague Doctor has an ability that is able to remove bleed and blight, and I might use it next turn on Reynold here. Reynold, well, Crusaders in general have the ability to deal extra damage to undead, unholy actually, to unholy enemies, which makes him a very viable pick for the ruins especially. Most times in the ruins you would want to bring a Crusader in order to have that advantage. Just might kill both. Nice.
Foolish horrors. Brought low and driven
Oh wow,
into
that was all the
mud.
battles. That was pretty quick.
Hacks laden with loot are often low on supplies.
Of course, this will give us plenty of enough time in order to check out the rest of the rooms. We're not in any danger of... We're not in any particular danger of dying.
Ancient traps
And
lie in wait.
there goes a good chunk of his health as I say that. But worst case scenario, we can always feed them some of our extra food.
The match is struck. A blazing star is born.
In order to have them, well, not die. So then we're gonna head off to this one last room, see what this curio is. You always want to be careful in checking out curios in case they could be trapped.
In Radiance, may we find victory.
And here's our last battle, just against a bunch of rabbles. Not particularly strong enemies. We should have no problem at all. Like I said, it matters not how much damage your team will take during an expedition.
Another one
As
falls.
their health will be fully replenished by the time you return to the hamlet. Stress is something you do have to manually take care of, and fortunately for us, not too many have gained too much. Our vessel
Though
should
long years may seek
be-
to separate them, action and consequence will invariably have their dreadful reunion.
Uh-huh. The courtyard has opened up. The courtyard was a map added, was an area added with the DLC, the Crimson Court. It is full of vampires. And remember when I mentioned the blood? We will have to be collecting a lot of it in order to make sure that our characters will remain alive later when the vampire curse spreads. Now we have an Antiquarian and an Arabelis. The Antiquarian has a unique ability of being able to carry more gold with you and separate bunches. And also has an ability of finding treasure that has a higher value. If you're low on money, it's very, very vital
She
to bring an
searches
Antiquarian with
where
you.
others will not go, and sees what others
And the
will not
Arabelis
see.
is a rather beautiful back row unit to have, and is especially good in dealing with bosses. When we get down to when we later encounter the bosses, she will be of great use. And now the wield has opened up, although we did briefly see the wield before. That was welcome to the tutorial. But I do think it is probably about time to show you what the wield actually looks like. Now, time to explain the difference between Blight and Bleed real quick. Blight and Bleed are essentially the same thing. They both will deal damage over time, depending on the attack. But enemies have certain resistances to them. And therefore, it is very vital that you're choosing the right unit to bring to the right area. Enemies in the ruins have a high resistance to bleed, but they are more resistant to blight. Enemies in the Weald have a high resistance to blight, but they are more susceptible to bleed. So we'll bring both the Jester and the Highwayman to this Weald expedition, as they have higher resistances to both. We want the Jester to remain in the third column, so we will not bring our Arabolis. On second thought, we could bring the Antiquarian, and I can show you real quick what she can do. And because we're not bringing our Plague Doctor, I am going to bring a couple extra anti-venoms and bandages, as without her, we will not be able to easily cure our characters should they bleed or be sickened. Without further ado, let's head to the Weald.
Corruption has soaked the soil, sapping all good life from these groves. Let us burn out this evil.
Welcome to the Weald. Now, I didn't actually quite look over the Antiquarian's abilities when I grabbed her, so she is probably better off in the back row, but we want our Jester and Vessel Gestel to remain there. But it should be no biggie. Hopefully. This is so far a little unlucky. But thankfully, these are all rather weak enemies. Because as you can see, we are getting our party members all in mixed order, which is certainly not good, to say the least. In this game, it is very much integral to not make these kind of mistakes. But right now, while our characters can still die at any time, we're not in total danger. In fact, I'm almost glad to be making these mistakes in order to show that not everything is lost.
Remind yourself that overconfidence is
Should these
a slow
mistakes
and
happen to you?
insidious killer.
I'm gonna switch our Highwayman. I'm going to be... Yeah, this is a little bit of a problem with our Antiquarian here. She is definitely not the best equipped to be handling this kind of run. Yeah, this is... I messed up. I messed up bad. Bringing her along. I should have brought the Crusader. I really should have looked over for what abilities she had. But I think we'll be fine.
For a task well performed.
We just have to play more cautiously. Right, and this is why you see me usually using bleed and light attacks against enemies that are physically larger. I am going to make the Jester guard our Antiquarian. as the Jester naturally has high dodge rate, and it will also be able to prevent spreading damage around, allowing our vessel to be able to heal a single target at a time. But speaking of our vessel, currently she is at 60 stress. I'm going to take the time to use the Jester's ability of being able to heal stress, which makes him a very useful utility role, especially when the cultist acolytes begin to targeting her. I am gonna have to change her skills because she is rather weak right now when we get back to camp. I'm going to decrease the accuracy of one of these acolytes. Of course, they dodge. And luckily, our Jester dodges back. I'm gonna keep stress healing our vessel. His stress heal ability also allows her to take less stress damage as well. Okay. Now I'm gonna have to go more on the offensive here. Which in fairness, I probably should be doing anyway. Yeah, on second thought, this might be a bad idea to keep marking my allies. Yeah, our antiquarian currently is more of a hassle to us to use rather than being extraordinarily useful.
Inspiration and improvement.
Send her to the back. And we're just not doing too great, are we? But thankfully, we brought our vessel back over, so we can heal our highwayman when we get the chance.
Give them no quarter.
Alright. Again, here we are, going back to
Reeling,
affliction.
taken over the edge.
When heroes can't take the stress anymore, they become afflicted. This manifests in different behaviors and stat changes. Afflictions last until you send them to the treatment in town unless you can reduce their stress to 0 during the quest. And spoiler alert, I don't think we'll be able to do that.
Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all.
I mean, it is quite possible, but we had to get very lucky. I am just playing terribly right now, but hopefully anybody watching this will be able to use this information by the time that they begin questing on their own. And not repeat these same mistakes. Luckily, the skirmish is almost done. And we can get our party back in order.
As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms.
And yes, our vessel every now and then will be dealing stress to our party at hand. Each affliction has
a
different
victim to the spreading corruption. Malformed
status effects.
with intent.
Let's bring our torchlight all the way back up. This isn't looking good. But thankfully we have our Jester with us in order to help our vessel deal with her problems. Decreasing the accuracy on our acolyte here. And making sure the rest of our party is healthy with our vessel. Dismiss next turn will definitely need to be healed.
Gnawing uncertainty.
Thankfully we dealt with one of the stress dealers. Now all we have to do is get rid of the other. I'm gonna go on the offense for a second. She moved herself forward, but thankfully she is not out of range for a single target heal. Decrease the accuracy on the madman. And hope that he will occasionally miss. So far, it is not quite working out.
The abyss returns.
But thankfully, the madman is almost dead.
Gaze.
So that way, when he is finally dealt with, we can use our Jester to continuously stress heal our vessel in order to make sure that she does not fall victim to a heart attack.
In the fevered pitch of battle.
Yeah, they are gung-hoing for her.
Festering fear consumes the mind.
One more solid attack should do it. There we go.
Their formation.
So that way, while we deal with
maintain the offensive.
the two front runners, we can make sure that our vessel will be able to survive. And by doing so, we can have our Jester continuously stress heal her. Or not. Afflicted allies will occasionally deny being healed, which is certainly a problem for when they are at the brink of death. Mistakes were made, certainly, but I do not think we are beyond the point of no return. Alright. Death's Door. When a hero is reduced to 0 HP, they are at Death's Door. While in this state, they will suffer stat penalties plus any further damage has a chance to kill them. Heal them to get off Death's Door. Now, Death's Door is a mechanic. It's very unique. Heroes that hit 0 health will not die immediately, which is both a blessing and a curse. For it gives us the chance to be able to get them off and save their life.
cannot be escaped. But it can be postponed.
Yeah, Brait this antiquarian was a mistake. This might be an abandoned quest pretty soon.
Death by
Not gonna lie. Again, let my mistakes be able to teach you, all you newcomers watching this video, what not to do when playing this game.
Great is the weapon that cuts on its own.
As I said, the antiquarian will be able to find more
The match
rare
is struck.
antiques
A
that are
blazing
able
star is
to
born.
be, that will give you more money finding. Which does make her very pivotal if you want to, if you're running low on funds. Bringing shovels to the Weald is recommended as there tends to be more obstacles in it. Thankfully, these enemies are now surprised, so we may have the chance of killing them, at least one of them. You know which one I'm aiming for, before they have the chance to strike. That's unfortunate. Thankfully, it's only one damage at a time. And we have brought Dismiss back up to safe levels, so all we need to do is make sure Antiquarian will be fine. The Sprawler is almost dead. But has bandaged the Antiquarian. Then have Dismiss be able to protect her. Because the last thing we need is for her to die to a bleed. You gotta be kidding me here, Vessel. You have to work with me. And even though it was working dire a few seconds ago, our heroes are slowly getting to more safer statuses. Thankfully, a few lucky dodges from Dismiss here. Allows us to be able to be safer.
The slow death, unforeseen, unforgiving.
Although our Vessel currently going rogue is certainly not helping our matters in the slightest. She dealt damage to herself.
A momentary abatement.
Let's try to see if we can have him miss a few more as we round up this fight. Nice. Be careful in sparing enemies, as eventually they
Success
will
so
be
clearly
calling
in view. Or is it
reinforcements
merely
to their
a
side.
trick of the light?
In fact, this will give us food, so real quick, using the medicinal herbs on this in particular will be able to give us food. So real quick, I am just going to feed Dismiss and what's her name, Osmont, when I get the chance. Our
waiting
food
to be
is now
spent.
doubled. Just to make sure that both of them will be safe and happy, with plenty of food left over. Again, dealing damage to the back runners, because these will both blight and mark our party. And as you've seen earlier with the move Rend the Bark, the fungal snatcher over here, scratcher, my bad, deals extra damage to party members who are, well, marked. As if the name didn't give that away. There's Blight I was talking about. One more thing to note is that a lot of the characters have unique dialogue when they're afflicted. The vessel coming out from her mother is one such instance. Not every character will do that, but it also links back to her own personal backstory. The backstory comics will be something I could get into one time. Probably not for today. But they are always a blast to read. The lore of the Darkest Dungeon is not something that is heavily in the forefront. It is much in the background. But I have a feeling that Dismiss is going to take a few heavy hits from the Scratcher unless we can kill him in time. I really should have cured her, actually. But since Dismiss is already marked, there's no reason not to make sure that damage is redirected to him. This should kill the Scratcher in the middle there. Having one party member guard for another will also increase the Protector's capability of dodging, as well as their Protect meter. So it does give them a small boost. Let us actually heal her. Ooh, and she cures herself of some stress. Thankfully, we're almost done. Just in case. God damn it. And let's finish it off with one Dirk Stab.
This expedition at least promises success.
For Dismiss, we are going to heal his blight. Then open the heirloom chest here.
Packs laden with loot are often low on supplies.
Again, if you have the inventory space, always give it to your party. Now, I can choose whether to continue or not, but with our chances not looking particularly high, I think we're going to call it a quest.
Corruption is an endless battle, but one that must be fought.
Return to the hamlet. Our characters have leveled up. The higher level that a character will reach, the harder, the more difficult the missions they could partake in. Again, even though that our situation before looked very dire, we were able to turn it around. And that is a good takeaway from that mission. is that even when things look dire, not all hope is lost. Now we have each of the areas unlocked. From the ruins to the cove to the warrens. We have a couple of characters who are being aided. And when she gets out, I will have Brireton. I can change her name if I so wanted to something that I could pronounce more easily. For convenience, let's just call her Vestal. Very original. As you can see, I am very original when it comes to naming things. And before we hop off for the video, I will do one more mission into the ruins. Since I believe that would be the safest route that I could take. So this is a medium-sized mission, so it will be a little longer than the ones we have done before. So that will mean that I will need to bring in a little more supplies. And as you can see, we have firewood. Firewood will allow us to camp, which I will go into once we get there. And on that note, I don't think I'll be taking the shield breaker. I will explain that some other time as to why. Let's just say that the shield breaker has a unique occurrence that can happen when she goes into a camping mission. Where did all the food go? Wait, what? That... Pardon me for 1 second. There we go. Food was gone for a second there. I've never seen that happen. That must be a glitch. Alright, enough screwing around. Let's grab us some torches and head back to the ruins. Yeah, as you can tell, the medium-sized quest is considerably larger. Start in one direction, then you will have to circle all the way back to reach the other. Most missions, most areas will not be looping around due to, I believe that do that, are the warrens and the courtyard. For us, we are not so lucky. We will have to travel up and around.
Curious is
Watch
the
your step.
trapmaker's art. His efficacy unwitnessed by his own eyes.
Also, one thing I do like to do is, before walking into any room, is to keep up that torchlight. This will decrease your chances of... I am dismissing all these traps. This will decrease your chances of being surprised. Which will... kind of like how we surprise the enemies, will instead have the enemy have a chance to hit us first. And as you can probably tell, that is something we ideally do not want to have happen.
Dazed, reeling, about to break.
Have a little bit of an unlucky start so far.
Great is the weapon that cuts on its own.
But thankfully we have eliminated most of the back row.
Slowly, gently. This is how a life is taken.
That's unfortunate.
Press this advantage. Give them no quarter.
Yeah, like I said, keeping a high amount of the blood at the moment will certainly come in handy much later.
As the light gains purchase,
Certain items could be used on certain curios that will be able to either decrease the chances of it being trapped or increase the chances of it giving you more. So I will be using the key on this cabinet. The keys are not just reserved for the chests that I see scattered around. Alright, time to make the whole trip back. I will see you guys when something happens. Alright, back at the starting room. We are going to begin our tackling of the right-hand side. Unfortunately, there were a couple hunger checks. Hunger checks will cost 4 each.
the light, the promise
20%
of safety.
damage, nice. Hunger checks will cost 4 food each, and as you can see, we are starting to run low on food. This is really unfortunate, but hopefully we can persevere.
Be gone, fiend. Back to the pit.
So now that we have a chance,
Executed with impunity.
and there goes our spider problem.
Triumphant pride precipitates.
Spiders in
dizzying
groups
fall.
are definitely one of the more scariest enemies to encounter, but thankfully with some good RNG and some solid DPS on our side, we were able to handle them without too much issue. And thankfully, all these guys are surprised, so we can make short work of the back runners. He will live for another turn, but that is fine.
The slow death.
The Acolyte will not.
Unforeseen. Unforgiving.
I was about to say, as long as he doesn't attack our Plague Doctor, we should be fine.
A moment of valor.
And as I also mentioned in the first video, with every chance for there to... Although there is a greater chance for an affliction, there is also a possible chance for a character to be virtuous. And unlike affliction, they will be given stat boosts that depends on which virtue they gain, as well as a chance of being able to decrease stress of our party members, among other effects. I'm actually not going to...
Maintain the offensive.
Since he is dying anyways, I want to see if I'm able to... Yeah. Have our Plague Doctor do her work and heal that bleed.
Confidence surges
And then
as
finish
the
him
enemy
off.
crumbles.
Since he's low on health, let's give him that buff. And see what's in this chest. More air rooms for us to upgrade our estate with. Make sure the right party member always disarms the trap. Not disarming the trap will mean that the trap will spring to life on a random party member. and traps will deal stress and damage.
Even the cold stone seems bent
And
on
having that
preventing
be about
passage.
2 random chance is not ideal. Not ideal in the slightest. For Reynold could hypothetically be dealt a lot of damage and possibly not make it through the next fight. Well, that took a while for him to quote-unquote steal something. Reynold starts with a quirk called Kleptomaniac, which means that he will occasionally steal items from curios that you find, like chests, crates, etc. I'm hoping we can find food. Yeah, all those hunger checks from earlier certainly costing us right now. In fact, I actually might not be able to show you guys what camping is if this continues, which is unfortunate, as
The
camping
match is
allows
struck.
us to
A blazing star is born.
be able to heal stress as well as health. Unfortunately, with them going first, the spiders might now have a chance of overrunning us. As you can see, they are attacking relentlessly on our poor plague doctor.
Another abomination cleansed from our lands.
Or they can just die.
Foolish
That's always an
horrors.
option. Alright, let's see what's up with these final 2 rooms. And let's call it a mission and a video. Very nice.
Ringing ears. Blurred vision.
Not very nice.
The end approaches.
But right now we're in pretty good shape still. Relatively speaking.
Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all.
As the fiend falls, a faint
Perfect.
hope blossoms.
She does not have the healing ability.
These nightmarish creatures can be felled. They can be beaten.
We will get rid of the citrine because it will be more money for us. Do we have another key to spare? No other key. Let's not risk that then. And let's also not risk the last room because that will be a battle. Since we do not have enough food for us to be able to camp, we unfortunately had to keep holding on to the fireplace. And unfortunately that also means that we cannot camp and be able to heal stress on our own. So our plague doctor especially would have to grin and bear that. And the Arabolist too. This will be it for a video. Let's
There
add
is
our
power in the
Vigilant
blood for those with the
to
fortitude to
our
pay the
party
price.
roster. And maybe consider the Abomination, depending on what he has. And this will be it for now. Thank you all for joining me again on this journey. And for all of you who was not a particularly huge fan of the first video but decided to give me another chance, thank you. It means a lot to me.
More arrive.
Hopefully
foolishly
this one
seeking
was more
fortune
up
and
to your
glory
speed.
in this domain of the damned.
And to the next video. Thank you for watching.